What is up, everybody? Today we're going to be working on this iPad here. This is what it's going to look like after we're all done. These are some of the tools that we're using. I got a little small toolkit you can get at your local Walmart. A metal pry tool. You got your plastic pry tools. Some more plastic pry tools to remove some of the connectors in there. And then some of these kind of guitar picks. We also got some of these nice little pliers. We got an angle plier, and then we got a straight head plier, and we're definitely going to be needing an air gun or a hair dryer. Should work just fine. It will just take a little longer to remove the screen. And right here you're looking at a brand new screen, and it's going to come with a nice set of tools right above. Now we're looking at the screen. Careful, it's going to have a little bit of tape on there, so watch out when you're trying to remove it. Don't just try to yank it and remove it nice and easy. Okay, we're going to begin by connecting the hot air gun and beginning to heat up the iPad. You want to make sure you distribute the heat nice and evenly around the iPad edges to remove any of that adhesive, loosen up that glue, and you want to keep doing this for maybe about a minute. I'll do this over and over. Don't just keep it in one place. You're going to get that metal pry tool, just get up under the glass there. Make sure you don't go too deep to prevent any damage. You just want to, break away that glue. I'm going to take away that piece of glass right here, set it off to the side. Make sure you don't cut yourself. Keep going around the edges here. If you notice, it doesn't go very deep, just enough to cut that glue. I'm going to continue here. You notice the screen just broke loose. We're going to use this plastic pry tool to put it underneath, kind of give us some leverage and prevent it from sticking back onto the frame. We're going to continue around the screen, put another plastic pry tool here, do a little bit of adjustment. We're going to continue heating up the screen to make sure that the glue has loosened up. As when it cools, it becomes more sticky and adhesive. We're going to drag the pry tool around the screen, being very careful not to stick it in too deep. That's what she said. And lift up the screen like so, being very delicate. And there it is. Now you were looking at your LCD, which shows you the picture. So the connection is going to be right underneath the LCD. You can see here it's a little dirty, but you can see that the wires for the digitizer are right underneath. We're going to have to remove these 4 screws. Before doing so, I want to try to power off the device if possible. As you can tell, we're having a little bit of trouble. So unfortunately, on this device, I won't be able to power it off right away. We try to power it off to prevent any short circuit from happening, but because this device is just damaged in a way where we can't do it, we're going to have to go on and continue without it. We're going to remove these 4 screws around the LCD. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to remove this top screw right here. Going to use these pluckers here. Remove the second screw. Moving the third screw. And removing the 4th and final screw, holding in the LCD. Guys, this repair is really not that difficult. It's just a little bit time consuming, but if you're willing to put in the time and effort, you can definitely save a lot of money. So we're going to continue by pulling up very gently on the LCD here, making sure it's not getting stuck on anything. We don't want to damage this. This is going to be one of the most expensive parts on this repair, so we don't want to damage this, because if not, you're going to be in the hole a couple $100. I noticed it loosened up, so it just pulled away from it. You want to just pull it away just enough to be able to unscrew and disconnect the LCD and digitizer. I'm going to unscrew it here, remove that screw. Make sure your screws are organized, as they do have to go back in the same order that they were taken out of. I had to remove those screws. You can see here that I'm removing the plate holding in the connector. The connector was stuck to the plate here. So we're going to go ahead and unplug the digitizer. It's going to be the home button that you saw me unplug. Digitizer connections were right above it. Those 2 there. And there it is. Your broken digitizer. I want to make sure you compare it to the new digitizer to make sure that they look similar. Everything's in place where it should be before we continue. You want to make sure you transfer over that original home button to your new screen, because if not, your finger sensor will not work properly. Apple has designed it where these are very complicated. So we're just going to go ahead and use the original home button. You can see here, trying to slide it underneath. I'm sliding it underneath just because The adhesive that's holding in that bracket, holding in that home button, is already glued on there pretty tightly. So to prevent removing that adhesive, just gonna put it from underneath, and there you go. See that perfectly working home button. Want to make sure we stick it on there to the back. Time to reconnect the digitizer onto the assembly. After the digitizers connect, you want to make sure you connect the LCD. You want to check it out to see if it's working. There it is. Beautiful LCDs working in perfect condition. Now, perfect time to go ahead and turn it off to prevent any electrical problems in the future. As you saw, it just turned off, turned back on. Everything's working great. I'm going to go ahead and test out the LCD and digitizer. Everything seems to be working good. So before I put back the digitizer, we want to go ahead and make sure we clean it up real well all around the edges to remove any of the old glue. Put the LCD back in its place, nice and easy. Screw in the 4 screws that were holding in the LCD. We're going to turn it back on to make sure everything's working good. There it is. Now we're going to go ahead and test out the screen one more time before we go ahead and close it up. We're going to go into the settings, go down. Want to make sure that home button is working properly. There you go. As you can see, it's scanning my finger. Gonna adjust your grip, make sure you get the outer edges. Perfect. So we're gonna lock it and we're gonna test it out, make sure it's working. Use your finger and boom, there it is. Brand new iPad. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. And as you can see, it's still a little dirty, the LCD. We want to make sure we get in there, clean it up real good, because once it's sealed, boy, it's sealed. And you're going to see all those finger marks and little dust particles and everything. So I like to use this isopropyl alcohol. The higher the percentage, the quicker it dries up and less residue it leaves behind. Right now, I only have this 50%, so we're going to go ahead and use that. Make sure you get everything a good little wipe down. Wipe it up real good. We're going to remove all the backing to the double-sided adhesive on the digitizer itself. And pull it up. It's a little pry tool. Get some leverage in here. Make sure you get the side where the connector meets the iPad assembly. Go ahead and peel all that off. I'm going to remove the plastic film on the back of the digitizer that was preventing it from becoming scratched. Now I have this cool little camera kit that I had for my cameras when I'm changing lenses and such. Has a bunch of little cool like air blowers, lens cleaners. If you guys are interested, make sure you guys check out the description box below. I'm gonna go ahead and blow off any little dust particles that could have just landed on there after cleaning. I want to make sure you put it right in the corner. Make sure you get it well adjusted in that corner, because once it's sealed, guys, it's a lot difficult to remove it, and you don't want to mess up that adhesive. Don't worry about the fingerprints on the top. We'll clean that later. So you're gonna run your finger all around the edges. Make sure it's seated correctly. Turn it on. I'm gonna go ahead and get in the iPad. Make sure everything's working good. Ideally, you want to do this right before adhesing it to the iPad, but I was already confident that digitizer was working good. We're gonna get the apps, a single app, and move it all along the screen. This is gonna show us whether we have a dead spot in the screen, and it looks a-okay. There it is. As you can tell, the app moved perfectly all around the screen, no problems whatsoever. Home button is clicking good, as you can tell. Finger sensor is working good. Rotation access is working good. Want to make sure that the camera is working good. You can see the back. Watching a YouTube video in the back. Check out that front camera. Just a second to make sure everything's working good. There's that front camera. Hey, there you guys are. Say hi. Cool beans. So now what I like to do as an extra precautionary step is heating up all the edges after the repair to make sure that adhesive gets hot, warm. Put something flat against it and then kind of hold it down, press it down to compress it as much as you can, and just hold it there for a couple seconds just to make sure that the screen really glues onto that assembly. There it is, as you guys can tell. There's that old screen, that old digitizer, all broken up. And here's that new one. Just gotta wipe off some of that fingerprint, but looking good. So here we are, cleaning it up, getting it ready for the customer. And that's it, guys. That's how you fix up an iPad for under $35.